Let me ask you something. Have you ever recently, in that moment of rest, scrolled through your phone feed for an hour and felt that you were consuming absolutely nothing? You look at the screen, content appears. It reads like content, but in truth, it tastes like cardboard. Now tell me, when was the last time you consumed and truly liked a post? Just like me. Have you been feeling that the quality has simply vanished from social media? I will prove to you that you are not crazy, and that what you are merely noticing is the smell of a rotting corpse. That is because in this video, you will understand why the internet with which you grew up is already dead, and that you and I are currently walking through a digital cemetery populated by ghosts mimicking human behavior. You will discover the mechanism of the content singularity, a mathematical inevitability that is transforming the open web into a snowball of bullshit where machines talk to machines while you watch. And most importantly, you will identify the only strategy that protects your mind from this cognitive pollution, revealing how to build a bunker of authenticity in an ocean of synthetic noise. To give you an idea, and even before we start, of the scale of this rot, consider the prediction by futurist Timothy Shoup. He estimated that in the period from 2025 to 2030, 99% to 99.9% of all online content would be generated by AI. Think about that. If you enter a library with 1,000 books, 999 of them were written by a robot that has never felt the sun, never lost a loved one, and never had a real idea. The only remaining book is human. The problem is that, on platforms like Facebook or Instagram, the algorithms can no longer tell the difference, and neither can you. If you do not learn to identify the unintelligible blur of the new web, you will not be a user. You will be the landfill where the machines dump their waste. Hello, I am Fernando Diaz. Welcome to 2029, the Great Disruption. Today, we are not going to speculate about the future. We are going to perform an autopsy. The patient is the public internet. Time of death, approximately 2025. Instead of a dossier, we will conduct a surgical examination of why this institution is dead but refuses to close its eyes. In the first incision, we will perform the clinical diagnosis. We will open the feed and expose the model collapse that is devouring the brain of the network. In the second incision, the toxicology report, we will analyze the surplexity deficit and why the machine is allergic to surprise. And in incision 3, the post-mortem strategy, we will outline the dark social protocol that you need to adopt to survive the stench. Let's make the first incision. Incision 1, the clinical diagnosis, the necrosis of recursion. Put on your mask, the smell is about to get worse. We are standing before the corpse of the open web, and the cause of death is not a virus. It is gluttony. The internet ate itself. We are witnessing a phenomenon that Ilya Shumailov, a computer scientist at Oxford University who studies the stability of learning systems, named the curse of recursion. It sounds like a spell from a bad fantasy novel, but it is actually a mathematical fatality. Here is the mechanism. When a generative model like GPT-4 or Gemini is trained with data generated by its predecessors, it begins to suffer from model collapse. It loses the tails of the distribution. Think of a photocopy. Journalist Bruce Barcott gave the perfect analogy. If you photocopy a document, it looks good. But if you photocopy the photocopy and then photocopy that result, eventually the text dissolves. The sharp edges disappear. The meaning becomes a blur. The AI models are doing exactly this. They are Xeroxing the Xerox. According to Kalyanasundaram Ramachandran, a researcher who modeled the AI data dead loop, the math is unforgiving. His recursive equation shows that if we continue at the current rate where 25% of new content is synthetic, over 90% of training data could be artificial in very little time. The machine is no longer learning from reality. It is learning from a statistical average of a statistical average of reality. Stop! Look at your phone. Unlock your Samsung. Look at the vibrant AMOLED screen. It is a marvel of hardware engineering. But what is on the screen? A news feed? A blog post? It looks like text. It follows the rules of grammar. But it is empty. It is what Melissa Heikkila, reporter for MIT Technology Review, described perfectly as a snowball of bullshit. It is content created to be read by robots, to sell ads to robots, paid for by robots. And you? You are the only biological entity in the room, trying to find a drop of water in an ocean of digital saline. This is the functional approximation error. The model tries to approximate the complex curve of human thought, the jagged, strange, and unpredictable peaks of our creativity, and flattens it into a smooth, featureless line. It collapses the curve. In the time when my hair was abundant and dark, I used to visit a jazz club in New Orleans. The place was dirty. The air conditioner rattled. The saxophonist sometimes played a note that was technically wrong or sharp. But that mistake was the soul. It was the friction of the moment. We are replacing that jazz with elevator music generated by an algorithm. We chose efficiency instead of entropy. We chose the Snowball because it was cheaper to produce than the truth. But here is the irony. The tech giants, the volume entities, are in panic. They know that if the Snowball gets too big, their billion-dollar models will become useless. They need human data like a vampire needs blood. This ends badly. But first, let me show you the beginning. They are trying to filter. They are using watermarking and metadata tagging to separate the synthetic from the organic. But it is too late. The infection is systemic. You might be thinking, Fernando, surely a little help from AI does no harm. Wrong. Small inaccuracies accumulate. A hallucination in Generation 1 becomes a fact in Generation 2, and in Generation 3, it is a fundamental truth. We are cementing errors into the base of our knowledge. This is not just fake news. This is the entropic decay of meaning. The information on the screen of your Samsung is losing its heat. It is becoming cold, predictable, and dead. But why does it seem so comfortable? Why do we continue scrolling? Because the machine found a flaw in our psychology. It discovered that we actually do not want the truth. We want the pattern. And regarding the collapse of meaning, I will still tell you in Incision 3 about how this explodes into the brand operating system and how you can monetize your own humanity. But first, you need to understand the symptom. You need to understand why the content you consume tastes like cardboard. You need to understand surplexity. Now, let's make the second incision. Incision 2, the Toxicology report, the allergy to surprise. Cut deeper, going past the skin of the interface. Why does the new web seem so lonely? You are on a site that looks like a community. There are comments, there are profiles, but there is no pulse. You are living in the dead internet theory. Critics call this a paranoid fantasy. I call it a premature diagnosis. The internet is not dead, it is in a coma. The Toxicology report has arrived, and the poison is the lack of surplexity. This concept, introduced by Daniele Gambetta and his colleagues, measures how surprised a model gets with a given text. A human is a high surplexity engine. If I tell you, I went to the store and bought a thermonuclear detonator, your brain fires. You get surprised. A machine hates surprise. A machine wants low entropy. It wants the next word to be milk or bread. Gambetta used the Gini coefficient, usually used to measure economic inequality, to measure the inequality of probability distributions in language. A collapsed model has a high Gini coefficient. It is supremely confident that the next word is the most average, boring, and predictable word possible. Silence. Listen. Do you hear the algorithmic soup? It is the sound of a million brands losing their distinction because they are all using the same prompt to write their texts. This reminds me of auto-tune in modern pop music. You know that robotic sheen on the vocals? It corrects the pitch, but kills the tremble of the human voice. It removes the vulnerability. The modern internet is reality with auto-tune. It is perfectly tuned and completely soulless. Imagine you are a marketing manager at Samsung. You need to sell the new Galaxy. You use AI to generate the ad text. The AI gives you, unlock your potential with transformative innovation. It sounds professional. It sounds safe. It is trash. It is hallucination cementation. It is the death of the voice pillar of the brand operating system. When everything sounds professional, nothing sounds human. I remember a patient of mine, a carpenter. He had rough hands full of splinters and calluses. He could feel the grain of the wood. He knew where the knot was just by touching. This sensitivity to the knot, to the imperfection, is what made his furniture valuable. A machine could print a table in seconds, smooth and not free, but it would have no history. That is your news feed. It is lying to please you. And the environmental cost of this lie? Stop. Do not write this down yet. We are burning the planet to produce this boredom. According to Kate Crawford and Leon Furs, AI is an extractive technology. Training a model like GPT-3 consumed 1,287 megawatt-hours of electricity. We are draining fresh water to cool data centers that are generating unintelligible blurs. Atish Bhatia proved this with his Numeral degradation experiment. He trained an AI with its own output of handwritten numbers. After 30 generations, the numbers were no longer numbers. They were smears. You are looking at the screen of your Samsung and you think you are seeing information. You are seeing a smear. The dead internet is not a conspiracy. It is a landfill. We filled the digital ecosystem with so much plastic that the real fish, the human thoughts, are suffocating. But here is the twist. But that saves us. The anomaly. The research by Matthias Gerstgrasser suggests a counterpoint. He discovered that if you reintroduce even a modest fraction of genuine human data, the collapse diminishes. A small dose of reality cures the disease. You are that dose. When it comes to the collapse of the average, we will revisit this later when exploring the dark social bunker in Incizao 3. Because if the open web is a toxic desert of low surplexity noise, where do the humans go? They go underground. They are building citadels. And if you want to survive the content singularity, you need to stop posting and start digging. Are you ready to see the blueprint of the bunker? Incision 3. The post-mortem strategy. The dark social bunker. We finished the autopsy. Cover the body. The public internet, the one where you post for likes and reach, is dead. Twitter, now X, is a haunted house where 13.7% of the ghosts are bots pretending to care about politics. So, what is the strategy for the survivor? It is dark social. This is not the dark web. This is the private, unmeasured, non-algorithmic web. It is your direct messages, DMs. It is your email. It is Substack. Strategies like those analyzed by Nick Walden point to dark social as the channel for authentic communication. Why? Because the algorithm cannot get in. In a world of content singularity, where every competitor can generate infinite variations of the same ad, the only thing that has value is trust. And trust does not scale. Discipline is not what makes you advance. Secrecy is. You need to adopt the brand operating system, but apply it to your individual life. Position. You must stand for something so specific that a generalist AI cannot replicate it. Be the expert in 17th century Toledo architecture, not the history fan. Voice. You need a tone, a human tone. I think of the movie Sully, you know, the one about the miracle on the Hudson. There is a moment in the hearing where the simulations show that he could have returned to the airport. The computer said it was possible. But Sully argued that the computer did not account for human reaction time, the fear, the hesitation. When they added the human factor, the simulation failed. The human instinct saved the plane, not the data. Your voice must have this human factor, the hesitation, the instinct. Guardrails. You need human-led checkpoints. This is where Substack comes in. On Substack, you are not feeding the feed. You are writing to a list of humans who subscribe to you. It is a certified human-only content zone. The future value of data is not volume, it is freshness. The machine knows everything that happened up to 2024. It does not know how you feel about the coffee you are drinking right now. This freshness is your currency. No plan, no margin, no exit. If you stay in the algorithmic soup, you will dissolve. You need to build an analog citadel. My brother in Ireland sends me letters, not emails, letters. When I hold that paper, I know a human held it. I know it did not come from a server farm in Virginia. This is the future of luxury. The post-truth era is, in fact, the pre-verification era. We are moving to a world where provenance is everything. You will need cryptographic verification to prove that you wrote that email. Substack is your bunker. Your email list is your supply line. The snowball of bullshit is rolling down the hill, getting bigger and faster. It is crushing the generic creators, but it cannot crush the bunker. The flourishing of consciousness in 2030 will not look like a global awakening. It will look like a series of small, disconnected campfires in the darkness. People whispering to people. The machine can simulate the voice, but cannot simulate the heat of the fire. You are the keeper of the fire. The future belongs to the verified. It belongs to the high surplexity, low efficiency, messy, and beautiful human who refuses to optimize their soul for a machine that doesn't even know they exist. The autopsy is complete. The patient is dead. Long live the resistance. Look back at that library we entered at the beginning. The 999 books written by the machine are already turning to gray dust, crumbling under the weight of their own recursive boredom. But that single human book left on the shelf is no longer just paper. It is ignited into a lighthouse, burning with a messy and unpredictable fire that no algorithm can simulate. We dissected the corpse of the web and found the cause of death, the efficiency that killed surprise. We traced the poison of model collapse and realized that the only antidote is the inefficiency of the human touch. And we mapped the escape route to the dark social bunkers where your voice can actually be heard. Do not fear the silence of the dead internet. Embrace it as your exclusive market advantage. The collapse of the average is the greatest subsidy ever granted to the authentic, because while the rest of the world drowns in the cheap abundance of noise, your specific ability to feel, to hurt, and to create with high surplexity has just become the scarcest and most expensive asset on the planet. You are not a victim of this content singularity. You are the designated heir to the monopoly of truth. Since this channel is just starting its own excavation of the future, you have a unique opportunity now to determine where we dig next. I will research deeply and produce the videos in the exact order of the requests left by you. So it is worth commenting below. What is the specific human skill you want to learn to shield against the noise? Write below to direct our investigation. I am your chronological investigator, and I'll see you in the future. Bye!